What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for Dana White's Contender Series week number 4.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we're back for another Dana White's Contender Series breakdown. This week, breaking down probably my least favorite card thus far this year from a Contender Series perspective, but I do think there are going to be some very interesting fights. Cannot wait to break it down. Out of the 3 cards, I have had 2 perfect cards. I would be shocked if I went perfect on this card. I think this is one of the toughest cards of the year. Lots of very, very close fights, lots of unknowns, lots of fights that could really go either way. So I will try my best on some of these, but man, these are some tough fights to call. But as always, before we get started and talk through these fights, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Dana White's Contender Series content out every Monday. Also, a ton of UFC 278 content coming out this week, so make sure you are subscribed so you not miss out on all of that. But I say we get into the breakdowns here, and we will start with the first fight of the night. We have Nazim Sadikov going against Ahmed Sahil Hazasanda. There we go. He had some tough names to pronounce there right off the bat. We will start with Nazim Sadikov. So he does train at Longo and Weidman MMA. He is 28 years old. We are not sure on the height or the reach there. He is 6-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Sadikov. He has a knockout rate of 60%, a submission rate of 20% for an overall finish rate of 80%. Very dangerous fighter. Some notes I have on Sadikov. Very good takedown defense, but he can't be held against the cage. He does have some big power in his hands on the feet. Solid combinations, very patient on the feet, and does pick his shots very well. When he does land with some power. Really good knees in the clinch as well. Something else I liked about Sadikov. Good ground and pound and control when he does get on top. But he's not very active with his takedown attempts, which I would like to see more of, especially in this matchup. We'll talk about why, but not really active in offensively trying to get the fight down to the mat. But he does end up on top a lot, but when he's ending up on top, it's because of his opponents. His opponents are initiate the grappling, and the majority of the fights I watch, and I just don't think that's going to be the case here. So I'd like to see Sadikov go for some takedowns here, but that's not really his game. But yeah, when he's on top, he's phenomenal. I mean, really solid ground and pound, really great grappling. Should be able to win minutes if he does get the fight down to the mat, but again, it's just not something we've really seen him do. Ahmed Sahil Hazasanda. Hazasanda, he's 26 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. He has 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him as well. He's a finisher in his own right. 44% knockout rate, 44% submission rate for an overall finish rate of 88%. A very, very dangerous fighter. Some notes I have on Hassan Sada. There we go. So he starts very, very, very fast. I love his striking. Very active on the feet. He has elbows, knees, big shots. I saw him elbow this guy on the feet, cut him open bad, eventually finish him. He can't be taken down, and I think this is could potentially be his downfall. Maybe not in this matchup, but going forward, his takedown defense seems to be a very, very big concern here. He can be taken down super easy, but when he is taken down, he is really active off his back. He's throwing elbows nonstop off his back. He's looking for submissions, and he is extremely dangerous off his back. What I don't like, though, and you never like seeing this, especially at the UFC level, if he does and gets to the UFC, is he is content to work off his back, throw those elbows from his back, throw up submissions, and ultimately you can lose minutes and you can fall behind laying on your back, right? So that's the one concern I have, but like I said earlier, I have not really seen Sadikov go for takedowns offensively as much as I really like to. So I think if this stays on the feet, like Hazasanda is a beast. Like he's nonstop when he's on the feet. Very good combinations. He is super dangerous, and I'm actually kind of more impressed with him on the feet. I think he goes after it more. He throws more volume, and again, he hits very, very hard. So I think that if Sadikov comes out here with the game plan of getting this fight down to the mat, he's super live to win. Super, super live to win. It's just I don't know if I can trust him to do that. We'll take a look at the odds here for this one. We have Sadikov opening up as a -150 favorite, currently -163. We have Ahmed Hazasanda opening up plus 130 currently, plus 143. I'm going to take the dog here and Hazasanda to win. I'm going to take him to win by knockout. Really like his striking. Very dangerous. I think he finishes Sadikov on the feet there. But should be a very, very fun fight to kick off the card. All right, moving on. We have Haley Cohen going against Claudia Leite. We will start with Cohen here, or Cowan. She's 30 years old, 5'8" with a 69.5-inch reach, 6-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Some notable losses here. She did lose to Victoria Leonardo in her MMA debut back in 2018 by submission. She has a knockout rate of 33%, a submission rate of 33% for an overall finish rate of 66%. Some notes I have on Cohen here. She is pretty big for the division and very physically strong. She is going to have a 2-inch height advantage here and a 3.5-inch reach advantage as well. But yeah, very big for the division. She has really decent striking on the outside. She has some solid wrestling, some solid grappling, and when she does get on top, she does have some good control. Very questionable striking defense, but she does do a good job at keeping range, keeping that distance. She does seem to throw naked kicks, which you don't really like to see, and she has been dropped and submitted before, and she has been submitted twice in her career, once, like I said, against Victoria Leonardo, and another fight where she did get dropped and submitted shortly after. She should potentially have the cardio advantage here. Leite, her cardio some fights looks really good. Her cardio in some fights does not look that great, but Claudio Leite, she is 26 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach, 7-1, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Leite here. 43% knockout rate, 14% submission rate, an overall finish rate of 57%. And I was actually really impressed with Leite. I know she hasn't fought the best competition in the world, but she has very good wrestling, very good grappling. She, in her own right, is super strong, very good control on top. She is relentless with the wrestling and the grappling. She knows what she wants, and she wants to get it down to the mat. Very impressive grappling on top, very good back takes, very good ground and pound, and she will be at a striking disadvantage here, but she does a really good job at going and out there and implementing a game plan and succeeding in that game plan, and that is getting the fight down to the mat. She fights very smart. She has good fight IQ, and the game plan is going to be getting it down to the mat, and I think she could here. I have seen her go deep into the 5th round. I think it was one of her last fights, and she did get a late finish, which was nice to see. I think it was like 30 seconds left on the clock. She looked fresh. She looked good. She was able to get a takedown in each and every round, control on top, land some ground and pound. I thought the ref probably could have stepped in a little bit earlier. Her opponent didn't have really much left, and then eventually she did go out there and get the late finish there. So yeah, Leite, her grappling's really good. She's relentless, and I think she has a really good chance to go out here and potentially get a submission. Like I said, Cohen, she has been submitted twice, once by Leonardo, once in her last couple fights. The submission defense is okay, but she has been subbed twice overall. I'm going to say Leite does get this done. I'm going to say she wins by submission in this fight. I'll say like a first or second round submission. I say she does get it down to the mat and eventually finds that sub there. All right, moving on. We have a very fun fight here. Cannot wait for this one. We have Jack Cartwright going against Jose Johnson. We will start with Jose Johnson. He is 27 years old, 6 foot, with a 74-inch reach, 14-7, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Some notable wins, and you're going to see a crazy level of competition here for Jose Johnson in terms of, the Contender Series, right? Like a lot of times we don't see, a lot of notable wins or notable losses, but Jose Johnson has both of notable wins and losses. So some notable wins, and there's even some I didn't even throw on here, but he beat Mo Miller. Mo Miller fought and won on the Contender Series. He beat Pipe Vargas twice. Pipe Vargas was the guy that knocked out Saeed Yakub Kakhramonov in the 3rd round. Very good fighter. He lost to Mano Martinez in the 1st round by knockout. Mano Martinez, MMA or UFC fighter, got tons of power. Lost to Ronnie Lawrence by decision on the Contender Series. And he lost to Charles Johnson twice as an amateur. And he also lost to Carlos Hernandez as an amateur. And I believe Carlos Hernandez is in the UFC as well. So lots of UFC fighters on his record there. So he's a 50% knockout rate, a 21% submission rate, an overall finish rate of 71%. So some notes I have on him, he's very long. It is insane that he is fighting at 135 pounds here. He is huge for the division. He reminds me of like the less skilled he's the less skilled bantamweight Jalen Turner. He may not have the skill of a guy like Jalen Turner, but he's super dangerous. He's super long, and I just don't know how he makes 135. It's insane. He's fought some really good competition and has a lot of experience, good amateur background with lots of good opponents on there, good pro record as well, has fought really good guys. So he was able to beat Mo Miller in his last fight. He did get some early trouble. He was able to survive on the mat. Mo Miller was having a ton of success, and Mo Miller, again, he's a really good fighter. He was almost able to submit Johnson a couple times in that first round, got him in some deep submission attempts, but he was able to fight out of that. And then, so Miller actually took down Johnson in the second round. He got caught in a submission, and Johnson was able to find a submission off of his back. But yeah, prior to that, Miller was definitely winning the fight. Jose Johnson, pretty questionable takedown defense, but a very, very solid get-up game. And I think his grappling is improving. He has been submitted quite a few times throughout his career, which is not the best look in the world, but I do think he's working on that aspect of his game. He got taken down 12 times. 12 times on the Contender Series in his first time against Ronnie Lawrence, which, no shame in that, but, he can be taken down. But he did get up a ton against Ronnie Lawrence, so that's good. But he does find himself into bad spots a lot of times on the mat, which could be trouble here in this matchup potentially. He has very sneaky power in his hands, and he is super dangerous. I saw him almost kill a dude when he fought Rafael Costa, I believe it was. Elbow to the side of the head. He was out for a good 5 minutes. Very scary knockout. This guy, for 135 pounds, has a ton of power. Jack Cartwright, he is 28 years old, 5'9", not sure on the reach, 10-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins for Jack Cartwright, and I think the level of competition and the experience heavily favors a guy like Jose Johnson. Cartwright, 30% knockout rate, 50% submission rate, overall finish rate of 80%. Like I said, he's not fought the best competition, but he has good leg kicks, solid power in his hands, good grappling, a good amount of takedowns throughout his fights, and a good amount of submissions on his record as well, which could definitely come into play here. Solid wrestling. He will go for it, and he will get takedowns, and he is pretty good on top, and he will attack with submissions. And I say he's a pretty decent fighter overall, but he has not fought that same level of competition as a Jose Johnson. And I feel like Jack Cartwright maybe could submit Jose Johnson, but I like Johnson here. I like Johnson on the feet. He's going to have a pretty big reach advantage. So we don't see the reach advantage. We don't see the reach of Jack Cartwright, but we do see that Johnson's going to have a 3 or 4 inch height advantage. But you best believe, Johnson's going to have a reach advantage in this matchup. I like Johnson on the feet. I think if he does get taken down, he'll be able to work his way back up. I think if Cartwright wins, it is probably because Jose Johnson gets caught in something, but I'm going to say he's able to keep this on the feet. He's able to keep it standing, and when he does, he hits really hard. I think he finishes Jack Cartwright here. So I'm going to say Jose Johnson to win. I'm going to say we do see him in the UFC, and I'll say it's well overdue because he has fought the who's who in terms of, competition outside the UFC. So give me Jose Johnson to win. I'll say Jose Johnson to win by second round knockout. All right, next we have Ivan Valenzuela, Bam Bam, we'll call him, going against Claudio Ribeiro. We will start with Claudio Ribeiro. He is 30 years old, 6'1", 9-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Ribeiro. He has a 100% finish rate, all 100% of those coming by knockout. He has solid takedown defense and get-up game, but he can be controlled against the cage. He throws wild and looping punches, but he definitely can be a little wild at times. He backs up way too much. There was fights where he's running to the back of the cage. And I remember there was a fight. It was his 5-round fight where the round would start, and as soon as the round start, they went to touch gloves in the middle, and he would immediately just back up to the back of the cage. So I didn't like seeing that, and I wish he would come forward more because I think this guy has a ton of skill, and he loses way too many minutes up against the cage. And could that be a concern here? I don't really think Bam Bam's gonna hold him against the cage or anything like that, but Bam Bam will definitely come forward and pressure him. So I don't really like that. But he did win in the 5th round of his 5-round fight because of his opponent was tired, and he was tired too. He slowed down in the 3rd round, but his opponent was even more tired to the point where he couldn't even stand up, and ultimately they called off the fight. But he does have some solid power, and when he lands, he definitely does hurt his opponent. He is best when he comes forward, and when he does let his hands go, they are super, super quick and super, super powerful. He has a really long reach. I know we don't have the reach on paper there, but you got to believe he's going to have a reach advantage. This guy's really long. I think he's going to have the higher volume here. I think he's longer, and when he does let his hands go, he's dangerous, and I'd like to see him do that here. Ivan Valenzuela, Bam Bam, 29 years old, 6'2", 8-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for him either. A really good finisher, 88% finish rate, 50% by knockout, 38% by submission. Overall finish rate of 88%. Some notes I have on him: he does stalk forward with his hands low. Pretty questionable striking defense. He is there to be hit, but seems like a very tough guy. I like the forward pressure. I think the forward pressure can work here and pay dividends here because, like I said earlier, Ribeiro's going to back up instantly, which I don't like. He does go after it when he smells blood, but other than that, he just doesn't do much. He doesn't let his hands go. He does, pressure forward, but just doesn't do anything. When he does let his hands go, though, he hits really hard. Pretty good takedown defense early on in the fight. I don't see Ribeiro going for takedowns here, but if he does, he has really good takedown defense. And he was taken down and controlled, though, and is only one loss. When he's on top, he does land huge ground and pound, and when he's on top, he's looking for the finish, but I don't really see either fighter going for a takedown here, so I don't really think that's going to matter. So Bam Bam, for me, I think he's exciting. I think he's dangerous, but for me, he's just a little bit too low volume. He is a very opportunistic finisher. If he does maybe hurt Ribeiro, he's going to swarm for the finish, but I think Ribeiro is going to be higher volume. I think Ribeiro is a very good fighter, very long, very rangy, very powerful, very dangerous. I just would like to see Ribeiro let his hands go more. I'll pick Ribeiro here to win. I'm going to take him to win by knockout in that first or second round, but it could be a competitive fight here up until there is a finish. I think someone's getting knocked out here, though. We'll take a look at the odds here. Bam Bam opened up minus 190, currently minus 117. Ribeiro opened up plus 165, currently plus 103. By the way, we have Jose Johnson, a minus 130 favorite, Cartwright plus 110. Like, a lot of these fights this week are close. We have Cohen plus 100, Leite a minus 120. Like I said, a bunch of close fights this week. And the main event, which we're about to talk about, has the widest odds on the entire card. And that main event is Esteban Ribovic going against Thomas Paul. So we'll take a look at the odds right off the bat so I don't forget. We have Esteban open up minus 250, currently minus 300. Thomas Paul open up plus 210, currently plus 250. So I was very excited to tape this fight after looking at this guy's Tapology picture. I mean, look at Thomas Paul there. I don't think I've seen a better Tapology picture than Thomas Paul. Look at that. Look at it. Amazing. And then you watch him fight. And then you go and watch him fight. And you expect so much, right? You look at the Tapology picture and you think, oh, this guy's going to be good. But that is just not the case. But yeah, Thomas Paul, he's 27 years old. We don't know the height. We don't know the reach. 11-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses. Extremely sketchy competition. A 100% finish rate, though. All 100% coming by knockout. And he has been finished in all 3 of his losses, 2 by submission. So he loads up big on his punches. He is down to stand and bang, and he does leave openings to be hit. Have seen him hurt before. Nice forward pressure and leg kicks, and when he throws, he lands with a ton of power. Takedown defense and ground game is a huge, massive, giant, gaping concern. We can't be taken down. It can't be controlled, and there's no way to get up, and there's no urgency to get up, which I don't like to see. Cardio seems to check out. There is fights where his opponents are able to take him down. They kind of slow down. He's able to get the late finish. And I do think he'll have the better cardio here as well. Esteban, he is 26 years old, 5'10", 10-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No double wins or losses for him. He's also a 100% finisher, 50% by knockout, 50% by submission. He starts super fast. He fights like he's double parked outside. He wants to get in and he wants to get out. He is wild and reckless on the feet, very high volume. He mixes it up well on the feet, throws nice elbows, nice knees. He can be taken down as well. He's not going to worry about that here. But his takedown defense is not awful. He does threaten with submissions off his back. Seems very dangerous off his back and very dangerous on the mat in general. He does have half his wins coming by submission. He doesn't show a willingness to take the fight down to the mat as much as I'd really like to see in this matchup. He does tend to stand and bang, and he seems to kind of slow down as the fight goes on, and the volume really isn't as high in the second or third. This is a main event where I'm like, I just don't really see much upside going forward for either fighter. Man, it's a tough fight to call, and the odds just don't indicate that. We have Esteban as a huge favorite here, minus 300, and I gotta pick him because, man, Thomas Paul is not great. But what Thomas Paul does do is he hits like a truck, and if Esteban goes out there and stands with him, Paul's gonna be live to knock him out. But I would like to see Esteban take this fight down to the mat. A gust of wind, it knocks down Thomas Paul. Get this fight down to the mat, and if he does, the fight will be over shortly after. Esteban's very good on the mat, very good grappling, and I think he submits Thomas Paul if he takes him down. If he takes him down, yes, he will look like a minus 300 favorite. If he goes out there and stands and bangs with Thomas Paul, that's where I'd have my concerns. But I'm going to take Esteban to get this fight down to the mat, get that submission, and do it in the very first round. Thomas Paul's ground game's not there. Takedown defense, submission defense. He's been submitted twice. I think Esteban submits him here. But I have a feeling Esteban's going to go out there and stand and bang with him. If he does that, it'll get interesting. But the pick for me, Esteban by sub. All right, guys, we did it. Broke down all 5 fights. Very tough card this week. Lots of very close fights. A lot of these can go either way. Like even the main event, we have a big favorite here, but can easily go the other way to Thomas Paul, especially if he comes out there and they stand and bang, and anything can happen. It's MMA, but yeah, it should be a fun one. Leave a like on your way out, subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Best of luck for Dana White's Contender Series Week 4, and see you later.